Welcome to Incubation Talk. Today we talk to Dmitry. I don't dare to pronounce your last name again because that didn't go really well last time. So welcome. Dmitry, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is Dmitry. My surname is Gubanenkov. I know it's hard to pronounce. So I'm been in the gaming industry for the last 8 years. I started from PC game distribution, work with Big Fish Games, Game House, and some other big PC portals. Then I moved to mobile sphere, and I developed myself in this sphere for the last 5 years. And right now I work as a UA manager in GamePoint. So just to show you a bit. So GamePoint is a social casino game developer. We're on the market for the last 18 years, and right now we're actively promoting bingo, royal dice, and slots games.
So what's your job being marketing, user research, analysis? What do you do?
So I do a lot of these things. So the main goal is, of course, attracting new players to our games, and it's the most challenging, most important to see the growth in our games. For this goal, I use a lot of analytical tools, some tracking tools, and use some kind of research, because I think the first and important thing where you should start is just to understand what other people do, how they do.
If we start your marketing campaign or your user acquisition campaign, you first do a competitive analysis, right?
Yes, exactly. And just to do a competitive analysis, right now there are a lot of different tools which can help you. So the first one, of course, is just Google. Google everything, Google your competitors. If you're developing a match-3 game or tower defense game, just Google, see what your competitors do, how they show their game, how they promote it. And right now it's enormously easy just to Google them. Just in Facebook you can put a name for example, Lords Mobile, and then on the left you will see the ads, and you can click it and you will see which ads this developer use on Facebook to promote their game. So I would say it's a nice starting point.
That's a nice step for it. Yeah. Yes. But then you know what they're making. Yes. And then what?
So I would say copycat. But of course, just check what they do, what they show, how they show. In this game, in examples, we found out that it's better to show pure gameplay. Sometimes it works better. For some of the games, you need to show some 3D cinematics, which is not the real gameplay, but which will attract a wider audience.
So for bingo, you said like we have to show some gameplay, but what do you show? Like that's just writing up numbers, right?
Yeah, exactly. But but the thing is that that's what people like in bingo. So also first, of course, you need to define the audience. So you can search even in Facebook audience. You can check what are the average age of your competitors, whom they target. For example, if you look for bingo, you will easily see that there is a main audience is women who are older than 35. So it will help you to start your first user acquisition campaigns. You won't target for everyone. You will focus on women, age from 35 to 65 plus, with some bingo interest or anything like that.
So how do you find other bingo games that do not call themselves bingo?
So it's also pretty easy. You can go to just store search. For example, on mobile or on Google, you can just type word game. You can even check your own game, bingo. In related games, you will see some competitors for sure. Because Apple, Google, Steam, they've got their own algorithm which can recommend you the game with the same genre, with the same
so
style.
Actually, you have a lot of people do your work for you there.
Kind of.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, so now you know who your competitors are. Then what do you do?
Then you understand how they promote the game. So we found out who are our competitors. We found out what they use to promote their games. It's time to ask our own design team or maybe a freelancer to create a video, like 15-30 seconds one, to use as advertising video, and maybe prepare some nice pack shots of the game with some gameplay elements and characters, and use it as an ad.
So then you have your ad ready, you have your gameplay movie ready. Mm-hmm. How do you reach out to your audience then?
The easiest way to reach it is through social networks. So of course it's Facebook, it's Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. So you should prepare all video based on the requirements from these platforms and start running user acquisition campaigns. And of course, the main goal of any developer, any user acquisition manager is not just a reach of potential reach of the auditory, not just impressions, but receiving payers. That's why, especially on Facebook, Instagram, it's enormously, I would say, easy to do, because in targeting options you can build lookalike audience based on the information about your payers. Facebook can prepare the potential audience which will behave the same, so they've got the more chances to make a purchase in your game if it's free-to-play one, or just buy your game.
So I don't really get it. So you have a lookalike audience, you say, and that's an audience that's not your actual audience.
Yes, exactly. So with Facebook, when you've got more than 1K payers, based on this information, Facebook algorithm can help you to build the potential auditory, which will be pretty the same as your buyers, as your payers. So that's why it's a very important tool to use to raise the conversion, to not just show your ads, but acquire payers.
All right. And how does that work for Snapchat or for Pinterest?
So it's pretty the same. So for mobile, it's a bit different. So you use a specific tool like AppsFlyer, Kochava, Adjust, which can track all the information, all the flow of the player. So it's like ad impression, ad click, download, registration, and any app level events, purchases, and a lot of stuff. So you integrated AppsFlyer SDK, for example, and after that you start running a campaign in Snapchat and see the results, how many impressions, how many clicks, how many purchases, and based on this data you define if it's a good source or not.
So this is reaching out to your audience, and then you sort of know if it works. Mm-hmm. How do you do analysis on that? Are the platforms doing that themselves, or do you have any tools for that?
Yes, for that you've got, of course, you've got another tools. So that's how AppsFlyer looks like. So you can see in one dashboard your user acquisition cost, how much users you acquired, how much they spent. The same for organic, because it's important to compare the data. And also you can see it's daily overall spend, split it by games. And so with this kind of, this is AppsFlyer dashboard. So these tools are enormously important. I would say it's your main thing which you check, I would say, hourly, day-to-day basis. So there is Adjust, also Kochava Tune, but I would say AppsFlyer and Adjust are the most popular in the market.
So what do we see here? Like we see the daily UA installs, right?
Yeah.
And the daily spend.
And the overall spend and the installs. Yeah.
It's not going really well, is it? They're all dropping at the end. Is that because you checked it in the morning, or?
No, it's just a declining campaign. So of course it's all about optimization. So the main thing is to be ROI positive. So your return on investment should be positive. That's why you need to optimize all the campaign. If you run different campaign on Facebook, you should see that some of them in some geos or with some specific creatives perform better or worse. So for those who are performing better, it's better to increase budget, make it duplicate and try in another geo, or just to cut off the campaign.
And with geo, you mean geography, right?
Yeah, geography is country, yeah, US, UK.
So then you do, like, you discover that one particular place, like geo, is doing really well. And then you add budget to it.
Yes.
Do you also start a new campaign, or do you run the same campaign there?
So I usually just increase the budget for the specific campaigns, but also I try to, if it's for example, if you see that US campaign is performing the best, it makes sense to try in some other English speaking countries like Canada, Australia, UK, Ireland, and some others.
Do you typically focus on geographical location first and then roll out, or are there other parameters that you can use to focus your attention on?
On mobile, you can just focus just on specific device, like device types, tablets and phones, or even specific devices like iPhone 6, iPhone X only, or even device operation system. It depends on the requirements of your game. If you've got a specific requirements, of course, it makes sense to put everything in your targeting options.
How does the system know that it's selling? Do you feed it information, or does it take the information?
Yeah, so Facebook or Twitter or any ad network, you just put all this information by yourself.
I don't really get how you get from the Facebook ad running campaign to understanding the actual sales and daily spend.
So you run a campaign, then Facebook shows all your video impressions to the audience. Then it's also send the whole information about impressions, clicks, installs to AppsFlyer. After that, AppsFlyer started to see how these players behave in your game, how many times, how many levels they can pass, and all these kind of things.
So you need to build in the metrics for the game for AppsFlyer.
Yeah, of course, you need to define specific events in SDK.
So what could be an event that you need to build in your game to be able for AppsFlyer to track?
So I would say it's firstly registration, if you've got it, passing tutorial, completing maybe first 5-10 levels, and of course purchase.
All right. So this is one of the tools.
Yeah.
Did you have another?
So I would say that AppsFlyer is the main tool to use. Yeah, but of course everyone has their own. We built in GamePoint our own one, which looks pretty cool. Unfortunately, I can't share it. But there are a lot of free tools on the market, like Unity. They've got their own analytical platform, Google Analytics, Game Analytics, and of course there are a lot of paid options like Mixpanel, Localytics, Amplitude. It's just depending on you what it's better for you, which is easy to integrate. And I would say if you're an indie developer and would like to start as soon as possible, firstly it's better to start with some simple free tool like Google Analytics or Unity Analytics.
Just imagine I have a game in which you have to make all kinds of cool drawings. And I put it on the App Store and I start running a campaign. I don't know who to talk to. So what do I do first?
I would say try to find a marketing manager just to talk. Because I think that the most important thing which you should understand about user acquisition, it's better not to work with some third parties, not to hire agency, because it's your money. It's better to see how the first players behave in your game. That's why it's better to speak with someone and then to hire a UA manager, marketing manager.
Okay, and so this marketing manager depicts what kind of competitors you have and what kind of audience they normally sell their game to.
Yes, and then he or she starts a user acquisition campaign, and then it's like constant optimizing of these campaigns. It's finding payers.
What are typically things to optimize in a campaign?
It's creatives, for sure. So for creatives, it's video. You can change a lot of things. You can show it in different angles. Then if it's like static interstitials, which you use to promote the game, of course, there are a lot of options. You should experiment with text on these creatives, with call to action like play now, play free. Even the color of the button of play free can really increase your conversion. So a lot of things to track. But of course, first one, I would say geo, then specific operational systems which perform better, or devices, and then creatives. And when you find a nice creative, usually it takes 1 to 4 weeks for creative to perform, and then it's just achieve like the whole audience. Yeah. And frequency cap became really high, so one person can see your ad like 10 times, and of course every next impression won't convert into the install. That's why it's better to change your creatives like on a bi-weekly, monthly, depends on how you can do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think that gives us a clear explanation of how to start with a user acquisition path and how you can sort of track their behavior.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd like to show?
Yeah, also I think it's important when you run. So the thing is with ROI and all these things, profitability, that's at least in free-to-play games. You acquire players like for $1, $5, maybe 15 for slots, and you don't know how they will monetize. You can wait for 1 year to realize that your campaigns are ROI positive. Right. That's why it's better to use some kind of LTV prediction, and there are nice models which are pretty basic. So the first one, it shows that LTV is lifetime value. It's calculated like average revenue per daily active user. So you can always see this information in free analytical tools. So it's easy to calculate in lifetime. And to calculate lifetime, usually you need to use your retention curve. For mobile, like it counts like the best situation is when day 1 retention is 50%, day 7 retention is 25, and day 30 is like 12%.
The retention.
Retention.
How do you calculate the retention then?
So it shows how many players returns on a specific day. So day one is, I mean that you acquire users, they install it. Of course, the zero retention is 100%.
So what's the typical next day estimation for your game? So they downloaded it, and the next day, how many percentage of players are still playing it?
Depends on the campaign, 40% or something like that. So for some hyper casual games, which for example Ketchup Voodoo developed, for them it's like 60, 70, could be a nice starting point. But of course it's a bit different than a casual game, hyper casual or hardcore or even casino. So everyone has different benchmarks. So
what we see in the graph here on the left, we see the amount of days that pass and the amount of players that you lose during the game.
Yeah, so the curve just shows how many players you lose. And so your lifetime, so you make equation for this line, and then you put an integral from that, and that would be the lifetime. So it would be like 40 days, you multiply it to ARPDAU, and here is your LTV. And you can receive this data after 3 days of running your UA campaign. So it's really nice to have some benchmark. Another way is calculate based on cumulative RPU. As you can see, so on the upper thing you will see that cumulative spend, you will see how many people spend per day. On the bottom it's days since registration. So usually the player behavior always look like this curve.
And it always has this sort of plateau effect somewhere.
Yes,
right.
Always. Yes.
Wonderful.
As for this calculation, it's pretty easy to do even in Excel or Google Sheets. Right. And so it's I would say it's a nice starting point to when you run UA, just to have in mind some benchmarks like your predicted LTV. Yep. Right. And just to summarize, so for the whole tools which you can use, it's like tracking solution, which will help you to see how your acquired users behave in the game. It's like AppsFlyer, Adjust, Tune, Kachala, analytical free tools, Google Analytics, Unity Analytics, Game Analytics, maybe your own one. Also, we didn't mention, but App Store optimization, it's enormously important thing. So when you run a campaign, the first impression is your ad. The second thing which people see from your game is your store page. In this case, please spend some time. See also what competitors show, how they describe, localize it of course. And there are some nice tools which can help you with that. And as for creative, so always spy on your competitors, or even not the competitors, but some games which performs really great for the same audience. So for example, if you're making, I don't know, a tower defense, still maybe it's better to check the ads from Clash Royale. It's different game, but it's the same auditory. Maybe you can find some at least nice animation, nice tricks, how they show it. And also for mobile monetization, it's better to use some mediation platform like Fiber, Earn Source, TopDuck, and Mob. So they will help you to earn more from showing rewarded video interstitial in your mobile games.
If I don't download the game via Facebook or via some kind, is there, or if I not make an account, like to log into my game, to create a user account, is there still ways to track the...
Yeah, there is. Yes, there is still a way. So AppsFlyer, you don't, when you use, for example, AppsFlyer or to be honest, any analytical tool except to Facebook, yes, it's doable to track without integrating any login thing.
All right, but then let's say the user just downloaded this from the App Store and did not make an account. How do we know his information?
So it's via analytical tool SDK. So it's just when the player launches the game, SDK passes the whole information to their servers, and then they will visualize the data.
So it's basically through the App Store's data. Yep. The user account on the App Store will tell them, but that's the only data I have, basically.
Yep.
All right. So I just don't know what data can you get from that, just from...
So at least user behavior, so funnels, you will see if it's a puzzle game, if it's it really doesn't matter. So you will see when your player churn, when they leave the game, and it's important to see because, for example, it could be a huge drop on the level 3, for example, and you would never know that without any analytical thing.
Are there any good like indicators / benchmarks on like when you know enough competitors that are well close to the game that you are making?
I would say like just check the 10 competitors which you can find in Facebook, or just when you search your game genre. Check how they're performing and try to find. So there are some tools like Think Gaming where you can see top grossing charts, for example, and see how much they can earn. So at least you potentially will understand how much you can earn. But also there are a lot of different reports. For example, the left one is from Charboost. So they show the cost per install in specific country, split it by game genre. So if you develop a puzzle game, at least you know that you need to spend in Australia $2.8 to acquire one player. And another one, they say 7 retention benchmarks from Game Analytics, split it again by game genre. So you will see that for Casino, it's like more than 10% on day 7.
So I have a slightly different question, but still very much related to user acquisition. And as you develop a game, you want to know in a very early stage if the game has an audience at all. So you could go and playtest your game a lot. But what you could also do is create ads for your game that doesn't work yet, and just see if people click on it, and see if like the art style and the idea of the game at least can be sold in an ad. Do you do that kind of stuff or not?
Personally, I never did it. Heard a lot of things when developers do that. For this kind of things, I know there is a service called Split Metrics, so they can help you to create a landing page, or at least you can do it by yourself. You create a landing page for your game and start running ads. So meanwhile you develop, you can already prepare some creatives. You can start collecting some email addresses.
And so, but GamePoint is not doing that.
No.
And
so
do you know why then?
The thing is that so I joined GamePoint like 7 months ago. We didn't release any new games, so it's all our main titles we support, actively develop them. That's why I already have the place where all the players will go. So that's the thing. But also, if you would like to see the results as fast as possible, you can put your game on Google Play beta access, for example. So everyone will know that it's kind of not a finished, not a polished product. But for you, the early you can receive the information about user behavior, it's better.
If I remember correctly, you were talking about promo arts, that it's better to show gameplay in the...
It depends.
Okay.
In our case, yes.
Yeah, for free-to-play games then.
No, I mean specifically for bingo.
Oh, okay.
But no, I mean for free-to-play, as you can see, there are a lot of developers who show 3D cinematic, or remembering Game of War from Machine Zone, that there are real people, some models filmed in their creatives. So it works. It also works, but it's enormously expensive to do.
yeah, because I'm personally, just my personal kind of preference, or what I like is a bit of stylistic promo art, like GTA or Fallout, but that's also an option then, I guess.
Yeah, of course. So the thing is, it's up to you what to show, but again, it depends on your option. If you can make a 3D cinematic, of course, try and see. But I would say start from a gameplay, because that's why people will stay on the second day playing. It's not just because of a nice picture. So also, it's a big issue when so there is some kind misleading creatives when they can show you when you promote RPG game, which looks like Heroes of Might and Magic, but in real life it's a bit different game, and when you promote it, it can help you to decrease cost per install, cost per player, but at the end they will never spend because they expected something different.
It's of course really cool to test out different creatives. I'm also curious about how different the creatives are. Like, is it really like only the color of a button, or is it like almost like a different art style or really different settings. So do you have some examples of creatives, and can we see like how they evolved from one idea to another idea?
So I don't have examples. The thing is, I would say it's like 50-50. So on 50% of our top performing creatives, we continue making iteration. So we see what works. We changing backgrounds, we change button colors, and see if it affects CTR and install rate. And all our 50% of our efforts are going to find some nice other options to show the game. So for example, for bingo, it's like maybe showing some DAO bursts. So even like 3-second video can work to attract players.
Regarding the lifetime value,
Yeah.
okay, I mean, 2 questions. So what you said it varies very much between different regions in the world. How
Yeah,
much?
of course.
What would you say is a good user acquisition?
Good user acquisition, it's one which is ROI positive, but I mean that you can see that in Australia, for example, if you acquire players for, let's say, puzzle game, it's $2.8 per install. So in this case, if your players pay more than that, it's great. But there are a lot of different types of games for hyper casual, like Voodoo, Ketchup. They spend a lot of money, but they acquire users for 5 cents. So that's why if you can make 12 cents, you are ROI positive. And with their scale, they earn a lot of money. With Casino, you spend like $15 per install, but average revenue per user can be like 25.
How long do you run a campaign until you say, okay, this is not working anymore?
So I would say 7-14 days. It's more than enough to understand if it's a good campaign or not.
Like how many iterations would you make on a game until you say, okay,
In the
this
game.
game
So
is
with
like
free to play, it's an endless story. So it's all about iteration. So with funnel analysis, you will see where players stuck. You try to improve it, improve. So it's always there is always the point where you lost most of the players, but it's every time it's a different. After each iteration, it's another point. That's why it's an endless story.
Okay, but then there's a company who publishes games. Is there a point where you say, okay, this is not worth it to keep on investing and like?
So I would say if you it's hard to say, because like from user acquisition side you can acquire 10k players and they don't pay, but maybe it's not a bad result. So in this case you should also check the retention rates, because if the players stick to your game for weeks, months, years, maybe it's better to find a monetization manager who could tweak your economy, and in this case you can earn. Because I would say it's harder to make the game where player will stick for a long period of time than trying to earn money from them. But it's also a personal thing.
So the color of the casino line, which one is it?
It's one of the highest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the main reason for your company to choose casino games.
Yeah, exactly.
But what have been the changes because of the casino new legislation? Because now everybody can do the casino games again, right?
But
In Holland, for instance, the thing was that it was not possible to do it until last year.
I'm not sure about that, because we are a social game developer company, so we are not real money. And in social games, it was, I think, always possible to run ads, but in real money, I think there was some legal issues with that. So that's a huge difference between real money and social. So in real money, you can receive money back. In social, you can't.
Okay, well that makes sense.
I didn't really get how you. So you said that the profile for a casino game, casually, women between let's say 35 years. How do you run the data analysis to get to that profile?
So the thing is, in Facebook, if you just type Facebook audience, you will see the tool from Facebook where you can put any competitor name. So I put several bingo, several slot games, and Facebook will show you what are their age, what the average age, what is the gender, where they're located, in which countries. For US, they will even share their household income. So a lot of data.
do the developers make a game and then find out what the audience is, or do you find an audience
No,
and
firstly,
then make a game?
so firstly, when you develop the game, spend 30 minutes, 1 hour just to make a research, because if it's casino cyberpunk game, it won't work. Or if it's that's why it's better to always run first research and then make the game. To at least it will help you to estimate the potential reach of your audience.
And that potential reach is based on data that you get from competitive games.
Yes.
Or not competitive. Games that are
Competitive.
competitors
Yes. You
from
can.
the same game.
Yes. Yeah.
And then afterwards, once you have that data,
You put it back to Facebook in their Facebook campaign and start showing ads to these specific people.
and from there you get like a prototype profile of the person that would play the game. So let's say
and then Facebook will adjust their algorithm and start showing to specific players.
The last question that I had is, once you have all this data, then you reach a point in which you want to go make a marketing campaign about that. So you take the data that you've gotten from the research and from the game itself, and then you look also at the competitors, how they marketed it, or do you look at your own?
No, in this case, after the research, after receiving some first information, I run campaigns only based on that information without any competitors anymore.
Okay, no, because you said that you looked at a similar game who had like a 30-second campaign or a video, and then you try to look at the positive things that might help you out.
Yeah, so I continue checking their creatives, yes.
Yeah, but you don't base any marketing campaigns on that. You base it on the research that you have.
On the research and the first results, yes.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Could you please elaborate on the top 3 beginner mistakes with the marketing campaign? Or if you want to formulate it positively, what are the top 3 tips for your marketing campaign?
So I would say the first one, make a research. When you've got an idea about the game, make a research. Maybe you're the only person. It's sad to say, but maybe you're the only person who will play it. So in this case, if you develop PC games, go to Steam Spy. Check what were the sales, what were median sales for specific game genre. Or again, check Facebook audience to see what is the potential reach. Then again, I would say focus firstly on some unpaid campaigns, like start posting tweets about your game, open a Reddit thread about the game. So try to acquire users just for... Of course you will spend time, but you won't waste some money. And of these first people you will see if there is any interest. So that's the second one. And the third one, okay, burn 1K just to see how people will click on your banners if they're interested.
Well, with burning 1K, we're going to wrap up. I think we saw a lot of new insights in how GamePoint does its user acquisition marketing strategy. Really insightful. Thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Thanks for having me.
Give a round of applause. So this was Incubation Talk. Hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.